Different views. Different views.
I know your story.
From different choose.
Incredible job.
He's David Quirk.
You brought it up.
And she's Corenna Quirk.
Imagine.
This is
2 Point.
We're honored to welcome the legendary Bill Green, esteemed journalist and the voice behind Bill Green's Maine. For decades, he's brought us the stories that capture the heart of our state. Today, we're thrilled to have him in the guest seat. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Corenna. This is one of those things like I used to watch your show with my grandmother. It was great, right?
Yeah. So, thank you for coming. We really
decades.
Do appreciate it.
My pleasure, David.
On this 250th anniversary of Paul Revere's Midnight Ride, have you met Mainers who quietly answer the call when their communities need them, modern-day riders in their own way?
I think people who are fighting the good fight, raising a family, going to work, they're our heroes, and they're the ones whose call I want to listen to. But I am excited. This is April 18th. I hate to date a podcast, but April 18th of 2025, and maybe it's a great time to pause and think that we're 250 years away in this great democratic experiment, and I think we're really lucky to be Americans.
Absolutely.
We certainly are.
Somebody should speak now. I was thinking it would be you.
Yeah. What do you think that makes a great Maine story?
I like to try to take people there. My dad and I were watching Super Bowl III at our camp down at Jegabuck Pond in Bucksport, and that was the one that Joe Namath won in the upset victory. And my father pointed to the little black and white TV we had, and he said, "That box is amazing. It takes me there." He was a railroad brakeman for the B&A, and he said, "I could never afford to go to this game, but that box takes me there." And so that was always a basic philosophy of my broadcasting. Our camera tried to take people there. And I discovered along the way that even if you've never been to the Allagash, the first producer of my show was a Portland woman. And she was an adult. She was 45 years old probably. And she had never seen Mount Katahdin. Doesn't mean she'd never climbed it. She'd never seen it. So how can you live in Maine and have never seen Mount Katahdin? And so that is an example of what I was trying to do, defeat that idea of sitting home and getting our cameras into the Allagash and into the county and all these places that we tried to go out to the islands. And I know we're going to talk about Eggemock and Reach later, so we got through there and show this great state. And I think the whole place is pretty beautiful. So that was one of my basic philosophies. I think people, when I started, unless you spoke sort of a Harvardian English and was formal, back in the 70s when I started on Channel 2, which was 1975, I wouldn't interview people. I wasn't as quick to jump on people. But by the end, I wanted to interview the guy that made clam rakes, those guys digging in the dirt.
Yeah.
There's a guy that made clam rakes. And he's like, Bill, I'm showing you this one. I mean, you can't miss with a guy like that. What a charming, eclectic, I don't know what he is. I don't want to use words and pick the wrong one suddenly like that, but what a cool guy to talk to, just to know. You don't necessarily want to live with him or something, but, he's a fun guy to know. So that kind of person. I like local people who are doing local work.
So when you're doing those stories, how do you know that, boy, this one's really going to get a lot of people watching it versus one, geez, did I do it right? Didn't do it right? I mean, do you know when you're filming that, boy, I got a great story here?
I don't know. Do you know when you're doing a podcast if you think it's feeling good?
Yeah, I do. Corinne and I at night, you will say, boy, that really went over well, and that was a great conversation, similar to the conversation we had before we get on the air. And we can feel this one's a little bit better, or maybe we just felt that it went better.
I think the same thing. Yeah. When I was in school, I went to the University of Maine. I majored in speech. Ha ha, you're dumb. But that's where the broadcasting major was. I was working at Channel 2. So I'm working with Eddie Driscoll on my backyard and Dowling for dollars during the day, taking night classes in the survey of world broadcast history. So it was a great juxtapositioning of the theoretical and the purposeful, the practical. And somewhere, sitting over in the newsroom at Channel 2, I got thinking, what is a news story? What makes it a news story? And after a couple of years, I thought, what makes it a news story is I think it's interesting. Now, isn't that, I mean, that's a little
You're
cocky.
absolutely right.
But you got to have that feeling, if I think it's interesting, other people will think it's interesting. And it turns out that way. So what I inferred from that is that I'm the most average person in the world. You don't want to be too smart or too dumb. You want to be average to get the bigger numbers, I think. But whatever I found to be interesting, I tried to do a story on. And most of the time I was right.
Yeah, and that's why we invited you.
Oh, you're very kind. But, if there's a young person out there, you want to write something, if you're interested in it, write it. Pour some passion into it and write that letter to the editor. Danny Tremble.
Yes,
all right.
Danny well.
Danny's backyard and my backyard's butted like that. So we had 50 feet of frontage on each other. And he got an award last night for like Man of the Year or something from the Bangor Regional Champion. chamber, and he encouraged people to throw their hat in the ring. You know, if you've ever thought of running for something, you ever thought of serving on a committee, do it. And I thought, that's a pretty good call to action right there.
Absolutely.
So I encourage the listeners of your podcast to do the same thing.
So what are some of the traditions you hope will never fade as you have traveled probably most every part of the state?
I think we're independent. I think we think for ourselves. I think we appreciate people who think for themselves. And we were talking about the race between Austin Terrio and Jared Golden. And I know both of those guys are both good guys. You know, why did Jared win in a Republican district? And I almost think it's that he thinks for himself. Sometimes he'll support something you think, where's he come up with that? And how does he as a Democrat come up with that? But I think he's respected for thinking for himself. So I think we're sort of an independent group of people. I think we want to be fending for ourselves, providing for our families, and doing it our way and without a lot of help.
I agree. We're fiercely independent, strong-willed, and we make our own decisions. I think that is why Jared Golden continues to win.
I think Maine is different. You know, everybody says, or many people have said, no, we all think our place is different, but it's not really. Every place is unique to itself. But I really like Mainers. I trust them implicitly. I think there are a lot of honest people here. They'll help you out if you're in trouble. They'll give you a hello as they go about their work. They work hard. We work in the cold. Whereas our largest industry is tourism. Where are they all winter? Where have they been since February 1st, right? I mean, geez. And then, they come in and they say, oh, we're so delighted to be here. I'm thinking, I'm not that delighted that you're here. Get out of line. I'm trying to get my coffee. But I just like Maine. I like Maine people. And I felt a little funny last night at the Bangor Regional Chamber dinner because I'm a Bangor guy through and through.
You certainly are.
Give me my maroon and white, baby. That's how old I am. But there was such a pride in Bangor there last night. And I recognize that I haven't lived in Bangor my whole adult life, basically. And I've had to give something up because I moved down south. But
right.
I love being in Bangor, and I love Bangor. But the people who stayed here and fought it out, they apparently love Bangor more. And you could feel the Bangorism in there last night. And I feel very comfortable with all my Bangor people. But I'm a Bangor person, but I live in Cumberland.
Yeah. We don't hold that against you.
Well, it's just the way it worked out.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, we have a cottage down in Deer Isle.
Yes, and Corenna found this cottage when she was showing houses down there, and we ended up buying a rental property down there that the gentleman was selling. And so we're on Eggenmoggen Reach. As you know, there's a famous song by Dan Fogelberg.
Reach will lay welcome as homeward. Don't stop.
Keep going.
This is background.
I like that.
This is background
Yeah,
music.
exactly. So it is the Reach.
Hurry. You can't talk.
Sung by him. And
Great tune.
It's a great tune. It's 6 minutes long or so, and we enjoy watching the sailboat races that every year that they have down there. Did you ever do a story on the Reach?
I only got it in a story that I did with Kippy Files on the Victory Chimes. The Victory Chimes used to go through there just to show off. And, so I've been through Eggenmoggen Reach. My brother Tom, who's my hero. Tommy is 80 years old. He's born in 1944, Bangor High School in 1962, a ROTC guy at Maine, and then went off in the Army and did tremendous things. A combat wounded guy from Vietnam. His first war was Vietnam. His last war was Desert Storm, and he said, in Vietnam, I lived in a hole. In Desert Storm, I lived in a 3-bedroom house with a washer and dryer and air conditioning. So I like Desert Storm better than Vietnam. But, he commanded the Aviation Brigade of the 82nd Airborne. I'm talking too much about Tom, but love Tom, and soldiers go off, they do amazing things, and nobody ever hears of them back home.
That's right.
He got a job at Goose Rocks Inn in Deer Isle. So he was down there in summer teaching beautiful girls from out of state how to sail, which is a good job.
Oh, that's a great job, huh?
And I was 9 and he was 18, so I was 11 and he was 20, and I'd go down a couple times a summer and see him. And so he spent some time in Deer Isle, and so Deer Isle's always been special.
Yeah, that's certainly a beautiful place to sail, that's for sure.
And one day in high school, the teacher said, Route 15 starts in Greenville and ends where?
It ends in Deer Isle.
And, you're brave to go across that bridge.
Yes.
You're brave to go across
My
that
mother,
bridge.
she's afraid of it. Yeah.
Well, the story is when Corenna, and we didn't realize this until our mothers told us, but when we were young, our mothers used to take us to the other side of the bridge and have at that snack shop that's still there.
Is it?
Yeah, LDI.
Yeah.
Once during the summer, Corenna and I both go there, and Corenna will have a lobster roll, and I'll have a hamburger. There is still a place there, and a little water and picnic table. So who
knows? When we were kids, we might have been there together.
Yeah.
We don't know.
So that's a Maine thing. I
Yeah.
go to LDI and I have a hamburger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just,
Right.
even though my best friend down there is a lobsterman, I still have a hamburger.
Do you guys eat lobster much?
Karina
No.
does, a little bit.
Once or twice in the summer.
We have it when people come from out of state.
Yes.
Yeah, so now I'm back on the good side of tourism.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But we never have a
Yeah.
lobster.
No, we
And
grew
then
up with it,
Uncle,
right?
Uncle Buck comes and got to get lobster.
Yes.
You know, so yeah.
Yes. We promise a lot of people lobster
Yeah.
when they
Yeah.
come. That's
Yeah.
it. That's what they want to do.
That's a Maine
That's the first
secret.
thing they ask.
Tim Sample had a great one. He thought we should build lighthouses inland so that people would go inland.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody goes along the coast to see lighthouses.
Yeah.
Well, put a lighthouse in Farmington and
Yeah.
So they can go apple
Bethel.
picking.
Yeah, have lighthouses up there so they could stop, get a picture next to the lighthouse.
That's right.
And as I like to say, there's a little truth in every joke. So
Yeah.
you know.
Boy, I never
He's not
thought
wrong.
never thought of that, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, no, Deer Isle, one of the many, many places, but I've never done a story on the Reach in particular, but I did get through
And
there.
how about not Stonington either, with the lobsters?
Oh, yeah, they've got a theater down there.
Yeah.
Stonington's a
Yeah.
preppy little place.
Yeah.
It's like your hometown of Hamden.
Yeah.
Right.
Hamden used to be like a country place.
Right.
And now it's like Cape Elizabeth or something, right?
is.
Yeah.
Jeepers creepers.
It is. Yeah.
We've been to that theater in Stonington.
How is it?
Yeah,
It's nice.
very nice.
I did an
Yeah.
interview with them, and they said, "Oh yeah, we're great," but I mean,
Yeah.
I
No, they
probably should
really
have seen
are.
a show.
Yeah,
but-
Yeah.
We did.
I'll
see,
take your word for that. Right.
we did see a show, and it was great, and we had a great time there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what do you guys do down there? Do you sail?
I do not sail.
Do you have a boat?
I do not have a boat.
How come?
Good
We're
question.
right on the water.
We're on the water. We have a deck, and we sit there and just do podcast and just relax a little bit. Shut the phones off. And,
Nothing more relaxing than a podcast.
You know,
if you
Cadillac
ask me.
Mountain is in our front yard.
Yeah, so we
So
look.
we watch
to
the
the reach.
sunrise.
We can see Cadillac Mountain, so we see the sunrise.
Yeah.
We see some of the most beautiful sunrises around.
Now, that's kind of interesting that you're looking out over water and seeing the sunrise. No, that's correct. But you're looking at Cadillac.
Mount.
Yes.
Where the
and
sun comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I did a story on that.
I bet.
On my birthday one year, September 2nd, which I did because August is the sunniest month, but September is 1% less sunny. And so we had people on top of Cadillac, Katahdin, Mars Hill, and I was down at West Quoddy Head to see where the sun rises first.
Yeah.
And according to the statisticians at the University of Maine, it depends on the time of year. And that day, Cadillac won.
Yeah.
But I think it usually rises first.
In Eastport, right?
Somewhere in the hills above West Quoddy Head.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're filming TV. You got to have something. You can't stand in the woods. And so we're down at the lighthouse, but there's a hill of 300 or 400 feet behind you. And I'm looking up there, seeing sunshine on that hill a couple of minutes before we saw the sun. So,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, but it was fun to have
I
people.
bet that was fun.
Yeah.
That's the kind of useless stuff I did. Got paid for it for a long time.
I missed that one.
For what, 47 years or so?
Well, from the day I started as a cameraman
Right.
till I retired was 47
Yeah.
and a half.
How long was the show that you had? How many years?
20. Well, we did 3 episodes in the year 2000
Yeah.
and then started weekly in 2001, and I was done in November of 19.
Yeah.
So I say 20.
Right.
But some people don't want to give me that 20th year. They
Yeah.
say 19. So whatever.
Now, did you pick out your topics?
Yes, but there was a guy named Steve Thaxton who was the station manager, and he called me in. The Rhines-Thompson family of Portland had sold Channel 6 and Channel 2. They were also hoteliers, and the Rhines store
Oh, yeah, the Rhines,
was some
yep.
relative as well. But they got out of the hotel business. They built the Eastland Hotel in Portland. They had the Congress Square Hotel. And the Portland station is CSH because the radio station, an original member of the NBC Green Radio Network, started on their top floor to publicize their hotel, Congress Square Hotel, WCSH.
Oh, yeah.
And they eventually got out of the hotel business because TV was, back in the 60s, they were making 50% on every ad.
Right.
So sell an ad back then for $20 and you got 10, and they couldn't count the money they were making.
Yeah.
So Steve Thaxton called me in. They sold to Gannett, which owned
Right.
USA Today. And one funny thing about that, when they sold the station, the negotiations went on right into Saturday night. And I'm working Saturday night. I don't know why. Maybe it wasn't Saturday night. Maybe I was working a regular night. But anyway, and the fax machine starts. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Well, somebody had called the station, and we had to answer the phone in the newsroom, right? Because you couldn't miss a news tip. And they asked what the fax number was. So they gave them the newsroom fax number. And about 10 minutes later, it's on fire. They faxed the bill of sale into the newsroom.
Oh, my word.
So the newspaper's saying,
Yeah.
oh my God, 100 million for Channel 6,
Yeah.
10 million for Channel 2.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're going to have jobs.
Yeah.
Should we lead with this? And that's one time that we did not lead with that story. But, they knew in the newsroom before they knew on the fourth floor.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
What a story.
Steve Thaxton was the station manager, and they wanted to have a local show. And I was 47 years old.
Yeah.
I was just doing features. I had a wife and a couple of kids, and I didn't want to do weekend sports. And I was locked behind a guy named Bruce Glazier, who was a sportscaster.
Oh, yeah.
And so they called me and said, you want to do, half-hour show. And I'm like, yeah. And they thought it would go 3 to 5 years and never have a rating, or have a rating maybe as high as 4. I think they were being nice there. And they said, what do you want to call it? And I thought, well, I'm only going to be around 3 to 5 years. I want to call it after me.
Yeah.
So I called it Bill Green's Maine. And that was genius because they can't replace you with Rob Caldwell.
Right.
Well, that's right.
And Caldwell's better than me in every way. He's a better person. He's smarter. He's better looking. But you can't do Bill Green's Maine with Rob Caldwell. So I had a little lock on that, and it went well. It went well early, and it went well because one of my mentors, what a great guy Bud Levitt was.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know,
From Hamden.
But there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Back when it was country.
Exactly.
But Bud was, he was bigger than life to me. And, you know, I've heard a million Bud stories. But first of all, he could write. And second of all, he could see the big picture.
Yeah.
And he gave me a lot of good advice. There's a guy down in Portland that ran a business magazine and named Leo Gier. And Leo wrote, and I was doing more some outdoor stuff and recreation stuff and trying to expand what sports is. And I wasn't there. You know, he's probably right to criticize me, but he, you know, Channel 6 giving up on sports Sunday nights. And, you know, I wanted to go punch him out.
Yeah.
And Bud, don't get in a pissing match with a skunk, you know. And he's right. You can't punch out everybody who doesn't like you.
Right.
You know, because one, I'm not that tough, and B, you don't have enough time. So, you know, Bud was helpful. And he fixed me up with interviews with Ted Williams. And
Oh, yeah.
Bud Levitt was
He knew
great
everybody.
guy. Yes, he was great, and he helped me enormously.
How about George Hale? Did you ever do any
Yeah,
work
but
with
George was the opposition. See,
Yeah, no, I know.
I was on
Yeah.
2. Steve Martin was their young guy. Steve
Yeah.
was a great broadcaster from Millinocket, became the voice of the Charlotte Hornets, does regional play-by-play. I don't know what he's doing now, but I saw him 4 or 5 years ago when we got him in the Maine Sports Hall of Fame. And Steve was there, so we were kind of in opposition. They had all the UMaine stuff, and some of the guys at UMaine, Len Harlow, Stu Haskell, those guys were doing stuff on ABI. So I couldn't really get much done at UMaine. And so I'm 22. I was on the air my second senior year. It took me 5 years to get through school. I'm 21 years old doing sports.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a 3-piece suit to the university. And I've gone from nowhere, the outhouse, to guys on TV, right? It was really kind of an awkward thing. But there was a fight at a fraternity house one night. I was at it. So I reported it, right? And they're trying to hush it up. And ABI's not going to talk about it because they're the voice of Maine sports. And I'm talking about so-and-so bit so-and-so. And, you know, so I was in the outs. George was always very nice to me.
Yeah.
And we have a great relationship. And I have so much respect for George.
Yeah, because, boy, he can tell some stories, that's for sure.
He's been around. I mean, he's been here before I was born.
Yeah.
I'm an old guy.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't my idea to be a recreational reporter, but because of Bud, when I became a sportscaster, I thought, well, I guess you're supposed to fish with Ted Williams. How am I going to do that? I can't fish. And so on my days when there wasn't what we call stick and ball, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, I'd try to do an outdoor story. And the running boom was hitting. And so I did a lot of running. I did some paddling. And, you know, you just try to do a couple of hunting stories, but you can't show kill shots on the 6 o'clock news. So,
Correct.
So in my hunting stories, nothing ever got hit, you know.
Right.
So once in a while we'd shoot a bird or something. But I just tried to recognize that. It's like the Bangor Daily News. Outdoor sports was on the sports page. You didn't have to turn to the outdoor section. You know, the Red Sox were here, and next to it was Bendy McElbow up at a hunting camp with Bud and Ted, you know, and it's pretty funny stuff. So I tried to sort of honor that tradition. I don't know if I tried to honor that tradition. That's too much broadcasting talk, but it seemed normal to me. It seemed right to me, too. And I've tried to do that with the Maine Sports Hall of Fame. I'm trying to get a couple of outdoorsmen in here and there. You know, we got people who've climbed Mount Everest, and we've got, you know, a guy that skis yored the Can-Am 250. He got behind 6-8 dogs on skis and went 250 miles in 3 days. That's a pretty good effort.
That's fantastic.
So, you know, because some great paddlers and things I think ought to be recognized. So my definition of sports is a little broader than what it was in 1975.
Yeah, and then we got the canoe races this weekend.
There you go.
Speaking about paddling.
There you go. We did that live for a long time.
Yeah, no, I know.
I remember.
Yeah.
And you know what ended that? Corporate lawyers.
Yeah.
Liability.
Yeah, we had a dunk of the day. I think it was a Dale Duff, king of sports, Dale Duff.
Oh, Dale.
And
Forgot
Dale said,
about
well,
that.
the best dunk of the day wins a trophy.
Yes.
And some Washington attorney took a look at that and said, we're not going to give that, and we're not going to televise it, and we're never going to say dunk of the day again because
Somebody gets hurt.
somebody drowns. So you had a dunk of the day, you know, Mr. Atwood or whatever. So anyway, Steve Thaxton created the show. They wanted to look local when Tegna bought us. So we'll do a Maine show.
Okay. So what you probably don't know, very short term, I had my own show also, Main Street with Corinna O'Brien at the time, and it was with Craig Coulson at Channel 7.
Very good.
I went around the state of Maine and found those places people have never heard of, businesses, and told their story. It was really great. A lot of fun.
What was the best part about it?
Best part about it, I was able to locate it, meet great people, and tell their story, and they were so thankful. And I was volunteering, I wasn't paid or anything. I just ran out of time, honestly.
Sure.
I could have continued. It was really fantastic time. And I still stay in contact with those people.
Absolutely. The thing I miss about being retired is people become newsmakers and I don't know them. Nurav Shah, was that his name?
Yes.
I sent him I think a text or something, an Instagram message. I said, Nurav, the only thing I don't like about being retired is I don't get to meet all the new people like you. You're doing a good job. Good luck. Keep it up. And I think he was sincere. I think he tried. I understand he's coming back. But I've never met Nurav Shah. I'm the only person in the media that's never met Nurav Shah. He's on every night, you know? And that's why I enjoyed the banquet last night. I enjoyed being here and saying hello to some people, and Deb Newman, the head of the chamber. And just, I want to know people. I just want to know them. I don't know. It's like these political races that we're talking about.
Right.
I know Jared. I know Austin, and it's interesting to me who the people will vote for.
Well, speaking of politics, do you plan on supporting Senator Collins again?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a centrist, I think. I'm a social moderate. I'm pro-choice, pro-gay marriage. I do not support transgendered women competing with cisgendered women. And that opens up, when you expand that argument, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's going to be a far-reaching discussion because it is complicated. And too often we don't get a chance to go very deeply into complicated issues. But if you're looking at sports records, and I use my own sister as an example of this, Title IX was 1974, Julie was 24. So we grew up, she was an outstanding athlete. If Title IX had been 1964, Julie Green would be, I wouldn't say she'd be like Blodgett, but she could really, really play. I think she would have been an all-state in one or two sports anyway. She won the Maine Amateur Golf Championship later on. But she was basically kind of driven from sports because there was no opportunity. And the opportunity that was there, it was in a harsh environment. And so now, for the idea, one of the guys I was playing with at Bangor Muni suddenly deciding that even if it's the most sincere, I think I'm a woman, at some point I've got to look at him and say, I don't think you are. And so that's going to be a hard, ugly fight. I do think, though, that Janet is right, and I like Janet very much. I don't think an executive order, I love saying this, trumps a state law. And our department of whatever it was, we rewrote human rights law recently, 3 or 4 years ago, and the legislature passed it. So that's our law. And I do live in Cumberland where the transgender pole vaulter is. I don't think the Greeley track coach can say, I can't let you participate. So, because it's a state law. It is a law. Right. I don't think the executive order trumps it. So I think right now, anyone who wants to participate as a woman can do that. And legally, and you have to let them, they have a right to do it. And so I think the question doesn't become, how do you feel about it? The question becomes, why aren't you trying to pass a law to prevent it? If 67% of Mainers, which I believe is what the polls show, are against it, why isn't someone trying to write a law, change the law?
Actually, there is a bill now, to remove gender identity.
And in some ways, those of us who have been to the legislature live recognize that our legislature it's representative of the people as a conglomerate or whatever, but it's far left of the people. The people who are just talking about the independent people they're not, and they may be voting Democratic, but it seems the more liberal person or the more right-wing person is getting elected. The center is disappearing.
More radical.
Yeah, and so right now, with the Democrats having control of the legislature, that can pass. So I think the answer should be a referendum. Let's let the people vote.
Yeah, people should decide.
In this case, I think it's a big enough issue that a referendum would be appropriate. We'll see what happens. But what President Trump did by doing what he did and now attacking us, he's turning Mainers against the federal government. I don't want the elimination of education money because of this matter. So I don't like being attacked. And as a Mainer, it's not at all like the Civil War. But in a way it is, because when those guys lined up at West Point, almost all of them went home to fight for their native state. And I want to fight for Maine. We'll see how it shakes down. But I think this would be a good time to start collecting signatures. Am I going to do it? No. But,
You're right, though. Since they're trying to get a constitutional amendment, I think you're right. It does need to go to a referendum at this point.
Who's trying to get a constitutional amendment?
They voted on it in the House yesterday.
So they want it to be a constitutional amendment that a transgender person. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
it needs 2/3, and I don't think it got it yesterday. 2/3.
I don't think they're going to get it. No.
But I think the other side. It seems to me, if the polls are correct, and I think everybody I talk to, and I'm in Cumberland, so I go down to the one store we have, getting coffee, and I whisper, "How do you feel?"
Sure.
I have a friend who's a physician, and he's a literal guy, and he said, no. So I don't know, but I have friends with transgender 2 children, and geez, I hate to tell them that their kid can't participate, but the one thing is sports for me. It's not theater, but the thing that bothers me is while we're doing this, what's China doing? While we're insisting only on a certain kind of power and or something, what's China doing? They're building nukes and coal plants. They're cornering. They're getting the energy they're going to need in this technical world, this digital world that I'm not going to be a part of, so I don't have to worry about it. I'm 71, and they're placing themselves 25 years out, and I don't know that I think we can deal with them because it seems like every time we deal with them, they encroach some way or break the rules or steal technology. I don't know. I want America to be the strongest power because I think there's something about our freedom that sells and really works. And I'm very concerned that we're screwing around with questions that really aren't that important when China's looking way down the road and much wider than we are. Mm-hmm. What do you think of that?
Well, I think you can do more than one thing at a time.
I can't.
I don't know
I'm very single-minded.
So I don't know if you mean on the national stage, what are we doing with China, or if you mean local?
Just as a people. Just as a people. We just want to fight all the time. I'm tired of it.
Yeah, I understand. We just want to get along. Yeah.
Rodney Quinn. Not Rodney Quinn. What was his name? Rodney Green? Who was the guy in L.A.? He had a police chase through 10 towns or something. They caught him and beat him pretty good. And it was on Rodney somebody.
Oh, way back when.
Back when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know, but I can't even think of it either.
All right. I'm down a rabbit hole with all this politics. But no, I think I'm an average guy.
Yeah.
I think
this is water cooler
but,
discussion. Absolutely.
But you asked me about Susan. She's reasonable. She voted 9,000 times in a row. She goes to work. It's very Maine. She's not the great orator, that bombastic get up and make a great speech from the well. But I mean, those guys are a dime a dozen. She's a worker. She knows how it works. And as head of the Appropriations Committee, every single bill that goes through appropriations, which is all the it's all the discretionary spending, she could put a little spin on and get us bridges and ambulances, airports. I mean, you name it. $600 million that she brought home, was it? Jeepers creep. And that's a big part of it for me. She's got power, and we won't have another one. I mean, the last time we had somebody that powerful down there was 100 years ago. Now, George Mitchell was our greatest statesman. George was fabulous. Bill Cohen, who was more respected in Washington than Bill Cohen ever. And, Olympia was solid. We've had some great ones. But Susan Collins, in terms of power, is, to me, in that pantheon.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And they're killing her. They're after her. Why don't you have a public hearing or town hall?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So 600 of us can dress up in moose costumes and come parade for the TV camera.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Here's my last complaint about politics. I think you got to get 300 people to your rally. So I'm sitting there watching News Center. My fat gut up in the air. I got a cup of tea going. I love to drink tea, and
me too.
And probably something to eat. And there's a protest today in Monument Square. There's 15 people. Come on. So where were the other 1.4 million? They weren't in to come on. So, the media jumps too much at protests, and they are trumped up. I hate to keep using that.
Elevated.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Somebody gets on Facebook, we're going to do it. And if they were playing slow pitch softball, you have a big tournament with 300 people in it.
Right.
We don't cover that, but we cover 15 people. I don't get it. So.
On that note, one other question I did want to ask, and you almost answered it. What do you see now different in the news now than when you started?
Oh, television news or
yeah,
newspaper?
Television.
Well, newspaper news. Every place I see a lack of objectivity. I wasn't allowed to know what I want to, give one side of the story. Sometimes you have to. You're on deadline, and so you talk to this side of the story and say, we'll talk to the other side tomorrow. But, we reached out and they didn't get back to us. They're inexperienced, not from here. It looks to me like the hiring practice at News Center is to hire them from great schools and stuff, but it's becoming a pipeline for Portland's middle market, but larger market stations. So we used to work in a team of 2 with a reporter and a photographer. Now they're multimedia journalists, better known as one-man bands. They go out, shoot, write, edit it themselves. And I can do that. Being a sports guy, I was low on the totem pole, so I'm shooting a lot of highlights myself and stuff. But when you do a package and you're doing it by yourself and you're 1,500 miles from home and you're a year and a half out of broadcasting school, it's tough. And so you tend to do features. You tend to do stuff that's safe. You can't really do a real controversy in a day because they start at 10 to limit overtime. Right. So the other thing is the average age. When I got to Channel 6 in Portland, I was 28 and I was the youngest guy in the newsroom. 28 now is pretty old, I think. At 28, I didn't have a mortgage. What do you have? I didn't have a wife. I didn't have children. different. What do I care about the schools? I don't have any kids. You know, you see schools differently. 10 years later, I got 2 kids and I'm volunteering in the office on Fridays. Wait a minute, now I'm seeing stuff. I think those kinds of experiences are important. And I like homegrown reporters. I like people from Maine that we're talking about Maine being a little different. I think Maine is a little different. And we had a woman in Portland named Hannah Deneen. Her dad was an NHL hockey player and a coach, and her grandfather's a Hockey Hall of Fame. And Hannah just missed a job getting out of Maine. And I wrote to her and said, Hannah, take another year. You know where Buxton is. You know what it means. You know where Springfield is. Springfield was in the news this week. Is that Route 6 that goes out of Lincoln, goes down to Grand Lake Stream? It's either 6 or 7. It's 6.
6.
Springfield's right on Route 6. It's just helpful to find it, to know where you are and know a little bit about people who live there and go up to St. John Valley. When Bill Cohen ran for office way back in the 70s, one thing that he discovered was that the French of the St. John Valley were different from the French in Lewiston Auburn. Right? The French in Lewiston Auburn are Quebecois, and the French in the St. John Valley came down from northern New Brunswick.
Yes.
And across they're Acadians. Mm-hmm. I have ancestry that's Acadian. The Evangeline story. So just understanding nuances like that make you a better reporter. Work for another year and stuff. And she's now in Tampa. She's fabulous. She's going to be a big timer. I wouldn't be surprised to see her on the network. She's just got all the tools. So, so there's one we lost. I think, young, and we need a little more perspective than we've got. And they've cut back on some management. The newsroom's not as big as it was. There's an assignment editing situation is different. It's all very different now.
Yeah. Is there one person or one story that you wish you had?
Oh, all the time. Oh, yeah. I did think that I'd done it. I did 420 shows, and that was kind of enough. And some of them were starting to look like other shows. You go do the antique snowmobile race, and then you interview the congressperson, and then you take something out of the archive, and then you do a storytelling at the end. And that was the format of my show. The boss, when he called me and asked me if I wanted to do the show, said, I want to give you an outline because it's easy to work from an outline, and you don't have to stick to the outline. And I thought, well, I won't stick to the outline. But the first segment was action, adventure, get outdoors, do recreational sports that I'm kind of known for. So we'd sail or something fast in the first segment. The second segment was an interview with a prominent Mainer. I hate to say prominent, but an interesting Mainer. The third segment was out of the archive, and the fourth segment was storytelling. So there's the guy with the clam rig. And the third segment became, if I had what I thought was a little bit weaker segment, we went out to do a snowshoe story, and it wasn't that fast. Right. I'd put a ski aerial story, where they're jumping off jumps in the third segment. So you got that little rush or something in the show. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times, if you watch, Bill Green's Maine is being rerun on Channel 2 and Channel 6, Monday through Friday at 12:30. Right. And I'm very proud of that because that's my body of work. It's what I did for my life, and I don't want it to sit over in the corner, even though some of it doesn't sit anywhere because it's digital. But, it's really an honor to be in reruns, to think, hey, there's something I did. Now they're up to 2008, so there's something that was done 17 years ago. And I think it stands up pretty well. And that's what I really loved about it. Like the other day, one of the interviews I did was with Senator Bill Hathaway. He was a congressman for 2 or 3 terms, and then he beat Margaret Chase Smith in 1972. And he went to Washington. What a guy Bill Hathaway was. He got shot down in World War II. He was a B-17. I think he was a pilot, co-pilot, something. And we went down to his house in, I think he was in Arlington, Virginia. He was right outside of Washington somewhere. And we started talking, and it's like 2 Mainers talking. It doesn't take long. Hey, this guy knows what he's talking about, and he's been to Eggemogan Reach, and, he's been to Fort Kent. And we had to get going because we were going up to a ball game in Baltimore. We were talking, and he said, geez, I didn't offer you guys a beer. You want a beer for the road? I'm thinking, wouldn't that look good? 2 guys in Channel 6, a New Center Maine car, stopped by the cops in Maryland with road beers. Yeah. And our defense would be, well, Senator Hathaway gave them to us. It must be okay, So, but just little funny things like that happen. One time, George Mitchell and I think, are friends. I think George Mitchell's a great guy. And my son was playing high school baseball. I think he was a freshman. And it was a big deal to me. And we're playing arch rival Gorham in the playoffs. And I'm waiting for George to do an interview at some hotel in South Portland. George comes in. I asked him 5 questions. I said, thanks, George. I got to go to the ball game. And George is looking at me like, hey, I'm the senator. You're supposed to, and he's a great guy. And he didn't care a bit. But, I jumped up and ran out of the interview and went to the game, which Greeley won 3-2, by the way. But it's just little moments like that was so funny. And just, it was a pleasure. I like people, and I didn't like all of them, but that's one thing I did. If you look at my show, you can't tell if I liked the person or not. I generally did. And the other thing was I wasn't that hard-hitting. When I did the endorsement of Susan, there was a Bates professor who'd been a writer at the Press Herald. I don't remember her name. And she wrote kind of a little bit of a condescending thing about me in Bill Green's Maine. But she was absolutely right. And, she was trying to be condescending, but she was right. And she said something like, in Bill Green's Maine, there are no drug addicts. In Bill Green's Maine, there's no people standing on the corner, whatever it is. There's there might have been a little cancer, but, and she was right. But that's what I chose to do. My Saturday night was modeled after Bud Levitt's Saturday night.
Right.
We're going to get together with the family. Good family stays together, plays together, and prays together. Good night, everyone. Do you remember that on the Bud Show?
I do not.
That's how Bud tagged his show, that a good family stays together, plays together, and prays together. And that was controversial even in the 60s. And so sometimes you just say stay and play. But it was a family show, gathered with people of all ages. But one time my producer said, Bill, what would you think of doing a half hour on women writers of Maine? His name's Brett Whitmarsh. Brilliant producer. And I said, Brett, I think that would suck. Because that's public television stuff, a half hour on women writers of Maine.
Well, that's right.
They'll give me a segment on Emily Dickinson, the viewers. But if I did action adventure, interesting Mainer, out of the archive storytelling, I can do Emily Dickinson at the end or whatever. I can't name another female writer, but I should be able to name 10, but I'm talking. But my show was done by a guy with ADHD. Hey, look at the bluebird. Boom, 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 we're done. And people I found when I had an uninteresting segment or maybe a segment that I shouldn't have tried. Like I noticed one replay the other day. I tried to give everybody their due. So there was a gospel thing. I don't even know where it was. Blue Hill or something. We went up to Blue Hill and there's Hello Lord, And it's it's good if you like gospel music. I like harmonic music. And there's 27 people there sitting on a dirt racetrack tapping their feet. It just pretty bad, And here's Glory Road. They're out of Nashville, Tennessee, way up north. And I thought that's I gave it a try. I'm to be commended for that, but it wasn't a very good piece. I gave them their due. I gave them their chance. And the criticism of the Bates lady is accurate in another way. People wanted to be on my show, so if you're on my show, I'm doing you a favor. And so I did have parameters. Like if you got elected to statewide office, you got on my show. If you were a heartbeat away from the governorship, which is the Speaker of the House, it's the President of the Senate. You got on my show. Because I wanted to have that video and pictures of the family in case the governor died. I'd get, here's the new governor. Bill Green did a story. We went to his house. And, all the governors and senators. They're interesting people. I think they're ballsy people to step in the ring and do that. I don't
Even more so now.
Oh, jeepers, huh?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
The behavior of the public is. Why is that?
Yeah. Your character is just
demolished.
Yeah. And it doesn't need to be accurate. When I was state director with Bruce Poliquin, district director, I was so naive.
So what is that job, state director? What do you do?
Oversee all of the offices in the state.
Okay.
Represent him when he's not here.
So when he was in Congress, you worked for him and oversaw the state of Maine.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And also second in charge in D.C. under the chief of staff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who was his chief of staff?
Matt Hudson.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
And so when he came home every Thursday, I'd pick him up at the airport and we'd take off for David wouldn't see me for 3 days.
Yeah.
Have you interviewed Corenna on your show? That'd be a good interview.
I haven't.
What do you do? What did you do all those times you were away from me? No.
Corenna is definitely the brains of the outfit of this podcast. There's no doubt about it.
I don't
I don't
know.
know about that. Before we let you go, what are you doing nowadays?
I'm doing too much. When you retire, don't volunteer for anything. I'm executive director of the Maine Sports Hall of Fame. And that's a wonderful organization that honors the best of the best in Maine Maine sports. We're just about to announce our new class. And we give away scholarships. The induction ceremony is September 21st at Husson at Gracie. And we record it, and it's played back by Maine Public Television. It's a black tie event. It's really, really great. I'm trying to think who we have in it. We have Gabby. We have Mike DeVito.
Yeah.
Matt Mulligan. And I'm trying to expand that a little bit, too, by getting, an occasional fisherman, sailor. David Hughes, an Olympic sailor, will be getting in this year. He got in 3 years ago, and we didn't have it because of COVID. We've missed 2 of our last 4 induction ceremonies, and we had to expand the next year. One because of COVID and one because of the tragedy in Lewis, because we had the same week. The fellow was still loose on Friday night, and we were going Sunday. We had to postpone. So looking forward to September 21st. We didn't have one in last September. So there's one thing. I'm on the board of Friends of Baxter State Park, and we try to be helpful to the park. And that's, an interesting situation because Baxter State Park is already overused. And if you start looking 50 to 75 25 years out, it's even crazier. And it's actually, I think, threatened by Katahdin Woods and Waters, which will become a national park.
Right.
So it's going to be bordered to the east by a national park. And you've got little old Baxter with $140 million in the endowment or whatever it is, that Baxter left $1 million and it's grown and grown and grown. So why not make it a big national park? Katahdin Woods and Waters doesn't even have Katahdin in it. It would make more sense. So,
Wouldn't it?
But no, well, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking
Right.
for a drive-in, drive to the top experience and you get out the Kool-Aid at the top, no. So right now it's a magnificent piece of backcountry and I hope it stays that way. So I work with the Friends of Baxter State Park. I do a podcast. I don't know what it's called, but Friends of Baxter State Park with Jensen Bissell, who is the director of the park. His kids are the Bissell brothers, doing what you guys are doing. And Jensen does most of the editing, so that's great. He does all of the editing. And he knows so much more about Baxter State Park than I ever will.
What's the name of it? I need to look that up.
Friends of Baxter State
Okay.
Park. It's a very boring podcast unless you're
that.
interested. No, it is. Unless you're interested in the history of Baxter.
Oh, okay.
So this guy lived at, Chimney for 12 years. How cold was it in February? If you're interested in that kind of thing, it's really good. But it's not an attempt to be a popular podcast. It's very specific, and we joke about it, but some graduate student's going to find that in 50 to 100 years, they're going to go crazy to hear about what the park was like now and what it was like with these people that we're talking to.
How about the Freedom Boat Club?
I love the Freedom Boat Club. They keep, all right, so a boat club is like a golf club. You pay and then you go boating when you want to go boating. And they have 4 locations one's in Yarmouth, Portland, South Portland, and Booth Bay. They're also on Sebago Lake, so I guess they have 5. And I think it's Brandy Pond that takes you to Long Lake, so there's 6. But they're advancing down east. So they got to come your way and have one down your way. And so you have access to boats. And growing up, I did not have access to boats. Dad was a railroad brake. We had a little, 12-footer down at Jacob Buck Pond. But, so we're, you can just take a boat and go out on the ocean. And we have, 200 clubs around the country. So if we're in Florida, we can get a boat on a reciprocal basis and take the family out boating.
Yeah.
So for me, I can't fix an engine anyway. I can't keep it running. It wouldn't have enough life jackets on it. It wouldn't have the safety equipment required. I'd have to moor it, insure it. I don't want to haul it, try to load it and deload it in front of all the guys on the fishing pier. Yeah. So you just go down, the little college kid there, man or female, it's all ready to go, Mr. Green. Turn the key and off you go.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds great.
Why don't you guys come down and go
I'd
for
love
a
to.
boat ride with me
have
sometime?
to.
Would you?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, anytime you want.
absolutely.
Now, you're going to captain us? Or,
Of course, yeah.
Okay. I'm
And that
just
was
checking,
I
'cause
got training. What?
I do have my Coast Guard auxiliary card on me, just in case.
You do. So you can
I've boated before.
you can run a boat.
I certainly can.
Oh, come on down, check it out. So we have mostly 23.5 foot.
Yeah.
We have a few different types, but center consoles. And I do a lot of striper fishing,
Yeah.
and little lighthouse tours,
Oh, I'd love to.
One summer, Karina and I went to 7 or 8 lighthouses?
9.
9 lighthouses one summer.
You physically went to them and stood in them.
I made him.
Yes.
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 Yeah?
Yeah.
Because he hadn't been to one. I said, what is wrong with you?
One summer, we just didn't have a lot to do, so every Sunday we'd go into a different lighthouse.
Which one did you go to? Which ones? A few, just a few.
Bass Harbor,
Yep.
Light.
Now on a quarter.
Portland. What's that now?
Bass Harbor Light's on a quarter.
Oh, really?
One of the state quarters got
Yeah.
Bass Harbor Light, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
On a quarter. I thought you
Yeah.
said it lights up on a quarter. Okay, St. George.
Yeah.
Brought him down there. Where else? Oh, Fort Point State Park. Love that one.
Yeah.
Portland, right?
But they're all
Good.
nice.
we
No,
went
it's
to-
They're
fun.
all
Yeah.
fantastic.
And it's fun to look at the craftsmanship that went
Yes.
into them.
Yeah.
Sometimes the stairs, each
Oh, yeah.
stair is like an eighth of an inch less wide
Yeah.
than one. So the conical shaped tower gets narrower.
Right.
Some guy made wrought iron stairs, 100 of them, and every one's an eighth of an inch smaller than the other. I mean,
Yeah.
can you
Crazy
imagine?
architect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
But it's
On a-
important. It's
Good for
important.
you.
He's a highway guy, right? When I met him, he'd
Yeah.
been on the highway.
I'm a highway
Have
guy.
you driven
He's a
cross
dealer.
country?
No, but
I
we
have.
did go across Florida. We went from the East Coast to West Coast, Alligator Way. or
Yeah,
something.
Alligator Row or whatever
Yeah,
it's called.
yeah.
Yes.
I went to work at 18, so I didn't. Everybody's going cross country.
Yeah.
I never did that. I'm over there, sweeping the floor at
Along
Channel
with
2,
yes,
right?
me too.
So I want to go cross country. My longest drive was in France. We fell behind on our honeymoon, and we drove across France to catch up. One day we drove
Oh, wow.
12 hours across France, which was a weird experience. I'm also on the board of directors of a preschool, and my grandchildren, 2 of them go there. It's basically in the basement of our church, although it's not affiliated with the church. But we do everything we can to keep the price down. And with 2 kids in the school, my daughter and her husband were paying $31,000 a year. It's more than their house. They have a little house, they're trying to get to a second house, and they're fighting the good fight. And I would support some kind of public preschool education. I think of myself as a physical conservative and a social moderate, maybe, and that's an area we've got to improve. Because I think back in the 70s, when women went into the workplace seriously en masse, we didn't do anything about the kids. And I think childcare still evolves to the woman more than the man. It shouldn't, but it does. And we haven't facilitated that. And we need to address that, I think, because we have two income families now.
Well, that's right.
So
you need to.
I do that, and then I run the stream for my church.
Oh, nice.
So I'm a director for a broadcast at maybe 15 to 20 people.
Oh, that's great. Where is that? Where's
I'm an
your church?
Episcopalian.
So am I.
Are you really?
I am.
When my wife and I were getting married, she said, how would you feel about getting married in a church? And I said, it's funny you say that because I'm thinking about going back to church. And so it worked out perfectly. She was a cradle Episcopalian, if you will. And so we've been going 39 years. But here I was at First Methodist.
Yep.
So you go to St. John's?
Yeah, well, when I can. He's a Catholic boy, so.
Yeah.
We change over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been to her church, and she's been to my church. And
Well, the Episcopal Church, as you know, but I don't know if the viewers know, is filled with lapsed Catholics.
Yeah.
The Episcopal Church is the oldest, whatever that would be, Christian denomination.
Yes.
Splitting
Anglican.
off. Anglican,
yes.
splitting off from the Catholic Church.
Correct.
And so most of our liturgy is the word, but habits are Catholic, smells and bells.
Mostly the same.
Yeah. But anyway, but church is a part of my life. It has been for 39 years, and it's been helpful to me because, as you can tell, I get wound up, and by Sunday I need to go slow down for an hour. So I don't necessarily listen. There's a guy up there, I know, but I try to calm down, and Monday and Tuesday is the time to get me because I'm a good guy. By Wednesday, I'm starting to get off the tracks
And
again.
we've got him on Friday, so I
I
don't
know.
know.
Yeah, look how this went, right? It wasn't the loving, fun stuff that it's supposed to be, but it was a pleasure for me to get all over the state. I've been everywhere but 6 townships, and I'm going to get them. And
Okay, what's 6?
I don't know, like T12, R14, stuff like that
Yeah.
in the middle. There are towns along the St. John waterway. I didn't stand in them, but if I go by in a boat, does that count? Like
Yes.
if you
Sure it
if you
does.
go up the Penobscot, have you been to
Yes.
Orrington? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
you can count it.
Okay,
Well,
so
I'll check it
I've got a few that I'm going to get to by snowmobile because it's easier to get around
Right.
up there in the winter.
Well, that's right.
But it's been great.
Yeah.
As many people don't know, north and west of Millinocket basically doesn't have any electricity. Right. That's the
Right.
great North Woods. There's no power. You can't. If you have a camp there, something you got to have a generator.
Right.
So
Yep.
that's.
And Starlink.
Yeah.
When you talk about what is the rural connectivity, is that what it was that we spent billions on to
Yes.
connect everybody to flat?
Broadband, yes.
Starlink took care of it.
Yeah.
And cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lot cheaper.
Musk is a lunatic. He's got 14 kids. What is that all about?
He's a smart man.
And we have a Tesla.
Yeah.
I'm driving a 10-year-old pickup truck, but we also have a Tesla, and it's in Sentry mode. So
Yeah.
Sentry mode is for you listening at home with keys. You just snap that on. If anybody walks within, I think it's 10 or 15 feet of your car, it records all 4 cameras.
Right.
So we'll come out somewhere, and it says there have been 5 incidents, and no one's bothered our
Right.
car, but you get to see who walked by your car. So don't key a Tesla because
Yeah.
everybody's got him in Sentry
You're
mode.
going to get
Yeah.
caught.
Yeah. So that's all I got for the people of Maine.
Wow.
But I love them.
Well,
We love your show. We love
Yes.
you.
and we really appreciate you.
That was one of
coming
my
in.
favorite shows.
Because Corinna and I have been talking about getting you on the show. Obviously, I reached out through LinkedIn, and we've done probably, this is what, a 20th podcast, I think?
We're going on to 25.
25.
We just
And-
began in August.
How
Yeah.
often do you publish?
As often as I can.
Okay, so
It's a
Yeah.
hobby.
But how we started this is Corinna and I, we get up super early for some strange reason, 4:35, we're laying in bed, and we just wanted to do something different. We wanted to educate people on some topics that really weren't out there being educated and diving deeper into the
Well, like he said,
Yeah.
what interested us, we're
Yeah.
thinking might interest others.
Right. And we've had quite a few people on, influence people who do make decisions for the state, and some charity events that we've had on. And
do you find that these people that you're talking about who make decisions for the state are just like me and you?
yes,
I mean-
Joe Baldacci's one,
Yeah.
Trey Stewart up there in Aroostook County.
I don't know
Yeah.
Trey Stewart.
Yeah.
I've never met him. I normally would have, but
Yeah.
he's-
Super nice guy.
We've had Joe Perry on, now he's the treasurer.
Yeah.
And everybody that we've talked to, Steve Bishop, who just got elected down in Bucksport, everybody we've talked to is all like you've talked to. State of Maine comes first. The town comes first. These are all true Mainers.
You actually, I think you sang a little poem to us when we first reached out.
well, everybody knows, listen, my children, and you should. Oh, but mine was, listen, my children, and don't be a snot, and I'll tell you the tale of Samuel Prescott, right? Because Samuel Prescott was a physician apparently out on the countryside somewhere around Lexington, Concord, seeing a lady on his way home.
Oh, I hadn't read
And
that.
ran into, I don't know who it was, whether it was Revere, and he said, I can help you.
Yeah.
And so he rode off and actually got farther than Revere, who got.
He was the only one that made it.
He did make it. That's
Yeah,
right.
to Samuel.
And the other guy was a guy that I know of was William Dawes.
Yes.
And William Dawes' son, Charles Dawes, was Coolidge's vice president. William Dawes' grandson was with the Iron Brigade at the railroad cut at Gettysburg, a Civil War hero. And Charles Dawes worked to feed Europe at the end of World War I. There was great famine, and he won a Nobel Prize. And then he became vice president. He liked to play the piano, self-taught. He would write little ditties, and he wrote, "It's all in the game. Too many tears after you fall, but it's all in the game." But words were set to it later on. It became a #1 song. So can you name the other American who won a Nobel Prize and wrote a #1 song?
No.
And the answer is Bob Dylan.
Oh, really?
Charles Dawes
yeah.
and Bob Dylan. So we'll go out on that. But I'm inspired that we're 250 years into this American
I know.
thing, and I'm a sucker. Give me some fireworks, and let's have fun the next year and a half, work together and make Maine and America a better place.
I agree.
Right. I agree. Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your time today.
Fun to see you guys.
Yeah. Oh, I
It's an
know.
absolute
Thank you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Different views. Different views.
I know your story.
From different Jews.
Incredible job.
He's David Quirk.
You brought it up.
And she's Corenna Quirk.
Imagine.
This is
2 Point.